Hello GMS students, this is Mr. Friedman, and today we are going to be looking at finding equations from tables. Before you start today's lesson, please open up the guided notes, which you can find on Google Classroom. If you have a printer, you may print them out. If you do not have a printer, please copy down examples 1 and examples 2 onto a piece of paper and follow along with me. So, finding equations from tables. It says here, write a linear equation to represent the pattern, this pattern on the table. Now, let's recall that all linear equations have the form y equals mx plus b. You learned this earlier in the year, where m is the slope, that's the rate of change on our graph, and b is the y-intercept. And you may recall from earlier in the year, the y-intercept is where my graph crosses the y-axis. So to find the equation of this table, or of the data on this table, we're going to have to find the slope and the y-intercept. So first, let's find the slope. To find our slope, that is going to be our change in y divided by the change in x. So let's do this on our table. Our change in x, I can see here, is plus 1 each time. And if I look at y, I see that y is going up by 3 each time. So my slope, m, is going to be change in y over change in x. That's going to be 3 over 1, or 3. So I'm going to write that here for my slope. Now that I found the slope, my next step is I have to find the y-intercept. So let's go back to this form of the equation, y equals mx plus b. What I have to do is substitute in the slope, which I've now found, and I have to substitute in values for y and x. So let's put parentheses where I have y and x, and we found here our slope, m, is equal to 3. So what I did here, I just rewrote the equation y equals mx plus b, but I put open parentheses for y and x, and I substituted my value of slope, 3. All right, now to find a value of y and x, I'm going to look over at my table. I can pick any point that I want. Let's pick this first point here. I have 1 for x, 2 for y. Okay, so let's put those values in. 1 for x, 2 for y. Now what I can do is solve my equation to find the value of b. 2 equals 3 times 1 is 3 plus b. Let's solve this like I would an equation. I want b by itself. So I'm going to do minus 3 on both sides. 2 minus 3 is negative 1. So I have b is equal to negative 1. So now let's go and write my equation. It's going to be y equals mx. I put the slope in front of the x plus b. So y equals, we said here m is 3, so that's 3x plus b plus negative 1. I have y equals 3x plus negative 1. I could also write this just as y equals 3x minus 1. Let's look at one more example here. Okay, example 2. Let's find this equation. Again, I'm going to need to find the slope and the y-intercept. Again, my slope first, m, is change in y over change in x. So let's find my change in y and the change in x. X is going up by 2 each time. I'm going to write plus 2. It's important we keep track of whether something's going up or down. Y is going down by 4 each time. So I'm going to write minus 4. All right. So now my slope here, change in y over change in x, is minus 4 over 2, which gives me negative 2 for my slope. All right, now let's find the y-intercept. To find the y-intercept, let's start by writing out the equation. Y equals mx plus b. I'm going to write open parentheses for the y and the x, and I'm going to substitute in the value that I have for the slope. So y equals negative 2x plus b, but let's leave parentheses here for the y and the x. I can pick any point that I want and substitute it in. I'm going to pick the point 6, 8. So 6 goes in for x, 8 goes in for y. Now let's solve and find out what b is equal to. 8 equals negative 2 times 6 gives me negative 12 plus b. So to get rid of negative 12, I have to add 12 to both sides of the equation. Eight plus 12 gives me 20. So I have b equals 20. So now my equation is going to be y equals, slope goes in front of the x, negative 2x plus 20. And that is how we find equations from tables, and you should be now ready to begin today's assignment.